Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Mr. GoPro, Eric Worre.
Good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing? You ready? We gotta do this right. You ready? Oh, yes. GoPro. How's it going? You guys have a good night? All right, take a seat. We got a lot of training to do. I get to train for a little while. We got all these other guests, but I'm going to talk to you about, I'm going to give you a short course on skills. Now, this is important for you for a couple reasons. If you already feel like you're skilled, take some of these ideas and incorporate it into your training when you go back with your organizations. Utilize some of these ideas because they're working all over the world, helping people to become more highly skilled. If you're not world class at all of the skills, take some ideas here. How many people, I asked you yesterday to start collecting ideas. How many people have at least 5 ideas that they've collected so far? All right, document them, put a star next to it. Did you get something from Mr. Puyo? Put a star next to that idea, circle it, underline it. We'll review it later. Now, I travel around the world and I work with organizations literally in virtually every country in the world, okay? Hundreds of organizations, lots of different languages, lots of different cultures. And there's a lot of things that need to happen for a person to have a breakthrough. And what my wish for everyone here in this arena, and for all of the people that are watching back home online, is that you experience a breakthrough. You experience a change. You experience something new, a decision, a movement. Because the frustrating thing about network marketing is many of us know what to do, but we can't seem to make ourselves do what we know. We beat ourselves up over our lack of consistency. We beat ourselves up over our lack of discipline. And if I were to try and reduce what is necessary for the average person to have a breakthrough, a real breakthrough, if you would like to experience a breakthrough, say I. All right. What I believe is 3 things are necessary for a person to experience a breakthrough. Number 1, a major burst of energy. A major burst of energy. I'm talking about aggressive. I'm talking about over the top. I'm talking about outrageous. Now, it doesn't need to be for a year, but it might need to be for 30 days. It might need to be for a burst, just whatever that burst looks like to you, something that is not normal. Slow and steady does not win the race, not in network marketing. I'm sorry. I would love to tell you that if you just hang around, you're going to be successful. That is not the case. Our industry is filled with people who've been hanging around for 10 years and have never experienced a breakthrough. You talk to them and say, how's it going? Well, I'm still here. They told me if I didn't quit, I'd be successful. That is not true. Not quitting will not cause you to be successful. It just won't. Slow and steady, inch by inch, it's a cinch. That's nonsense. Yes, you need to be consistent. Yes, the turtle is good for his consistency. But you need to be the rabbit sometimes, and then the turtle, and then the rabbit sometimes, and then the turtle. If you don't give a burst of energy, I would rather you go recruit 20 people in 30 days than recruit 1 person a month for the rest of your life, because it's going to get you better results. Success loves speed. You got to play bigger. You got to be stronger. You got to get more aggressive. The number one thing of the three things I want to give you to start this session is you got to go a little nuts for a period of time. In order to change your state, change the velocity, change the intensity, change the attraction, break yourself out of this mundane, going through the motions, nobody cares. So you got to go a little bit crazy. You got to choose when you want to go crazy. We're coming up in a really good time to go crazy, right? We're going to start a new decade in a couple of weeks. You've got an opportunity to just really rip a new page, do something outrageous, go nuts. You could prepare between now and then in order to be able to do it, but you've got to get aggressive. If you don't get aggressive for at least a season, I can predict what your future is going to look like, and it's going to look a lot like your past. Success loves speed. The world is not served by you playing small. You got to get a little bit nuts. And if people around you aren't a little worried, then you're not being aggressive enough. If your family's not a little concerned, then you're not being aggressive enough. Might be a week, it might be a month, it might be 90 days. It doesn't need to be forever, but it does need to be. So that's number one. Number two is accountability. You want to have a breakthrough, you want to change your life, you want to do something outrageous, you got to put your ass on the line. You got to get somebody around you that will not allow you to play small. You got to put yourself in an environment that you will be embarrassed if you don't move forward. You got to manufacture some peer pressure in your life. You've got to cause yourself to be accountable to another person, to an organization, to something, to your team, to your upline, to your company. If you don't create some accountability in yourself, you'll find a way out. You'll start to justify. You'll start to say, you know what? I can do it later. I got time. I can wait. You know what mediocre people say? I'm not going to tell the world what I'm going to do. I'm just going to show them. Because they want an out just in case it doesn't work. They want to do it first and then tell the world what they did. You know what the formula for success, I believe, is say yes to whatever it is that you want to do, number one. Then tell the whole world that you're going to do it, number two, before you even know how you're going to do it. And then step three, figure it out. That's not how normal people work, but it's how entrepreneurs work. Say yes, tell the world, figure it out. What most people will tell you, figure it out first, then go do it, and if it works, then tell the world. That's not how it works for entrepreneurs. I'm just telling you. You got to create some form of accountability, somebody that will force you to get out of your little comfort zone and will cause you to operate at a higher level. I heard it said once, and I think it's true, one of our chief wants in life is for someone to show up and force us to do what we're capable of doing. So number two is accountability. Number three is mentorship. Mentorship. I believe mentorship is literally a time machine. It's a time machine. I've had mentors for virtually every aspect of my life, for my entire life. Some of them I met and they were friends, or they were leaders and mentors in my life. Some of them I never met. Jim Rohn was a mentor to me long before I ever met him, and we became friends. So sometimes it's a mentor that is in your city. Sometimes it's a mentor that's in your organization. Sometimes it's a mentor that just wrote a book. But mentorship is literally a time machine. You get into this time machine because of the mentors, you move forward 5 years in your success without getting any older. That's what happens because you can learn from somebody who's already gone before you and has learned a lesson that you've yet to learn. So it's vital that you identify a mentor that is better at something than you are, and that will push you to learn that thing, whatever that thing is, in order for you to be able to have a breakthrough. Mentorship is, to this day, I have, I would say about 12 active mentors in my life. Some of them I pay, some of them don't know. They're secret mentors, you know what I mean? They don't know how much money I'm making from their wisdom. They have no idea. It's so incredible. So how much my life is better because of their ideas. But those are the big three things. That's what I would wish for you. What I would hope for you is that you find a way to create a burst of energy. Number two, that you find a way to hold yourself accountable to your purpose, to your dreams, to your mission in life, the reason why you were born, what you're here to do, that you find some form of accountability to not allow you to play small. And three, that you create a mentor network around you that can be that time machine that will help you move forward faster. Because understand this, we only have so much time. I think we're here to see what kind of contribution we can make in the world. The thing that makes me happy, the thing that drives me more than anything else, two things: growth and contribution. If I don't have those two things in my life, I am restless. If I have those two things in my life, I am satisfied and fulfilled and happy. And I have to have both, because if I'm growing but I'm not contributing, I'm restless. If I'm contributing and I'm not growing, I'm bored, I'm restless. But I have both. Oh, that's for me. You got to find out what it is for you. But I will just tell you, when I have those things in my life, I'm super, super happy. My mission is to contribute. My mission is to grow and contribute, get better, help other people do the same thing. I travel around the world doing what I'm doing. I mean, the money thing was handled for Maureen and I many years ago. We do what we do today because this profession did so much for us and does so much for other people. I believe it is an incubator for entrepreneurial growth. I believe it is the ultimate personal development platform on earth to be able to help people find the best in themselves. We sell products and services as an excuse to hang around with each other and figure out all the stuff that's slowing us down in the rest of other parts of our lives. It's so amazing, but I would hope that you find that next gear. Because at the beginning, it was all about my paycheck and my income and my growth, and my ambition sometimes overwhelmed my decision making. But I matured. I grew up. I'm not the same person I was then. So it's okay if right now it's about you and paying your bills and finding freedom and taking care of your kids and taking care of your family. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing not noble about that. That's fantastic. But I got to tell you, one fuel is ambition. Ambition will fuel your activity. Proving somebody wrong. I'm going to show them that they were stupid, that they were wrong to doubt me or doubt network marketing. That fuel's fine. Prove somebody wrong. Prove something to yourself. That's fine. But there's another fuel that is like jet fuel in comparison, where it's not about you, and it's not about proving somebody wrong or proving yourself right or showing your family or any of those things. It's about contribution. When you can find a way You want to live forever? If you would like to live forever, you can. You know how you do it? Pour a little bit of yourself into another human being and teach them to do the same thing. You live forever. So, look, I get fired up. What I want for you is take these ideas, take them home, turn them into contribution in your local markets, in your communities, in your countries around the world, in your organizations. Infuse them into everything that you do, because as you do that, you can achieve greatness. We talked yesterday about leadership being the thing. Leadership is the engine. If all of you can become real leaders inside of network marketing, that is the engine. We're going to talk about leadership a little bit later. But leadership takes time. It takes 3-4 years for a person to become a leader, usually. Even if they've been a leader in other areas of their life, still takes 3-4 years to become a leader here. This is different. To become a leader, you need to become skilled. Skills buy you time for a person to become a leader. We're going to talk about skills in this session. And then systems, skill-proof and fear-proof systems, buy you time for a person to become skilled. Okay? So you're here. I want to talk to you about skills. I want to give you a very quick playbook on the 7 skills and give you some good ideas. Okay? So if you're ready, say, I'm ready. All right, fantastic. Skill number 1, finding prospects. When I first got involved in network marketing, I was scared to death that I didn't know enough people. I think most people are concerned, like, do I know anyone? Just know that most people in your organization are concerned about how many people they know. 3 different groups of people in network marketing: posers, amateurs, and professionals. Posers, they make a mental list of a handful of people. Amateurs write down a list and drain it real quick. Professionals treat this as part of their job, part of their career is to find people to talk to. And I gotta give you a secret. We all start with making a list of people that we know, right? We all make a list and we're all like, well, if I know a lot of people, I'm gonna be successful. If I don't know a lot of people, I'm not gonna be successful. So I need to find people to recruit people that know a lot of people, because that's the key. It's not the key. So I'll give you a couple examples. Just here out of this room. Jordan, how many people have you sponsored in your company? 600 people over the course of how many years? 15 years. How many of those people did you know prior to starting with your company out of those 600? Maybe 30 out of 600. So 570 he met after he joined his company. It didn't matter. So Carla, how many people have you sponsored in your company? 180. How many of those people did you know prior to joining your company? Maybe 30. More like 20. 20 people out of 180 you knew prior to getting involved with your company. The others you met after as a skill. So don't worry if you live in a small town. Don't worry if you don't know anybody right now. Don't worry if you're not influential. Don't worry if you don't have a lot of friends. You just need to learn how to connect with the world, because all the top earners have done that. Brian Carruthers, how many people have you sponsored in your business? 1,600 over how many years? 21 years. And how many of those people did you know prior to joining your company? 40 out of 1,600. He learned how to find those people. This is what professionals do. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step process on how you can become world-class at having more prospects to talk to than you have time to reach them. Okay? Number 1, make your list as comprehensive as possible. Include everybody, write them down, use the big three. Start with the big three. Everybody in your organization should start with the big three, which is your phone. Pull out your phone. Every single person that is in your phone needs to go on your list. I'm a big fan of written lists because I think sometimes when it's out of sight, it's out of mind. I would encourage you to start a journal or do something that's written. You can review it from time to time. You can look at it. It will help you versus some electronic thing that is just in a file somewhere and you don't see it all the time. That's my preference, but you decide what you want to do. Number one is your phone. Every single person, if they're not a distributor in your organization, they need to go on your list. Don't prejudge them. Don't decide for them whether or not they're going to do this or be a customer or be a distributor. Just decide you're going to put them on the list. You could just see what you're going to do with it later. That's number one. Number two is your email. Go into your email, pull every single person you've ever received an email from or sent an email to, and put those people on the list if they're not already on the list in your phone. And number three is social media. And some of you are just going to go, what? But here's the thing. Every person you're connected to on social media needs to go on your list. Every friend, every follower, 100%. And it's not enough for them to sit in your friend list. You need to write it down. When you write it down, it's going to change something in you. You're going to create a plan around it, and you're going to be able to start to figure out how you're going to connect with that person to be able to expose them to what it is that you have to offer. So don't prejudge anyone. It's the biggest danger in the world to prejudge anyone. I'll give you one quick story on prejudging. I had some cousins in my family that were evangelists. They traveled around and they were preaching, and they were kind of doing anti-rock and roll preaching. They'd sing songs and they'd do these little sermons about how the bad parts of rock and roll. And they're busy traveling around doing all this stuff. These are my cousins. So I never put them on my list. I was just like, nah. And also I kind of liked rock and roll. You know what I mean? So it's just like, nah, I'm not going to call them. Well, somebody else did call them. I didn't know that they were tired of traveling around doing that. They were looking for something else. They were trying to figure out a way to be able to escape that particular situation and have something else to be able to create more cash flow, more freedom in their life, and also to support their ministry of what they wanted to do around the world. So somebody else did call them. And guess what? They joined. And guess what? This little family of my cousins, guess how much they've earned in network marketing since the day that they joined? $40 million. I never called them. $40 million. I'm so happy for them. I would save you that pain. Do not prejudge. Even the negative people in your life. Let me tell you something about negative people. How many people have somebody negative in your life? Let me tell you something about negative people. A negative person is just someone who's had their heart broken. That's the truth. They're just someone who's had their heart broken. Someone who's had somebody let them down, somebody who's become cynical because of that heartbreak, and you can have an opportunity, if you have compassion, to be able to get beyond that and at least give them a chance to be able to do something different and take a different path. How many people here in this room used to be a negative person? Raise your hands. Take a look around. So don't just throw them to the curb. There's some quality leaders out there that used to be negative, and somebody believed in them. Somebody saw something beyond that cynicism in them. Don't prejudge. That's step number one, is as deep a list as you can make. Start there. Social makes it so easy. Step number two, include the contacts of your contacts. If you go on social and you click on one of your friends, what can you do? You can go to their profile and you can see all of their friends. And guess what? It's not difficult for you to make a contact or communication with friends of your friends. Hey, I see you're friends with Mary. And you can friend request them, you can talk to them, you can start a conversation. Start thinking about who the people you know, who they know. And you'll expand your list beyond what you could even ever get to. How many friends does the average person have on Facebook? I don't know, 500? Huh? If it's 500, how many friends do you have? Take it times 500. That's how many people you can reach out to legitimately and say, hey, I see you're friends with Patty. I see you're friends with Mark. And you can start a conversation. And that's all business is conversation. Right? Endless. Step 3, constantly expand your list. This is a living, breathing thing. Add 2 people every day. You've met tons of people who served you your food, people who cleaned your hotel room, people who've helped you in your travel process on your way here. But the professionals raise their awareness and they collect friends in the process. You know what non-professionals do? They ignore all of those people. Do you think that gate agent at the airport, that's their dream? To be a gate agent and have people holler at them every day through the holidays? It's not their dream. Do you think it's their dream to clean this hotel room? Nope. They didn't put that on like when they were a kid. Someday, I'm going to clean the hotel rooms in the MGM. They're waiting for somebody to show up and believe in them and recognize their potential beyond their current circumstance and professionally and competently guide them towards a potential solution to be able to move on beyond it. So raise your awareness, be a citizen of the world. Step 4 is network on purpose. Get outside of your house. Yes, I know we can click buttons, but get outside of your house. Join a new gym, start a new hobby, join a networking group, meet local business owners and influencers, volunteer for an important cause. Get out there and just be a citizen of the world. And as you are, if your awareness is raised, you'll be adding more people to your list. If you're adding 2 a day in those different environments, it'll become endless. And step 5, separate your list into categories. For a brand new person, my recommendation is to separate it into categories. Because if I'm trying to come up with a system for an average person to be able to take a step even though they're afraid, you're going to give them a system of how they're going to be exposing your product or your opportunity to that person. But sometimes it's good to just separate it into some categories to be able to give them a path, because it could be overwhelming if all of a sudden you have 3,000 people on your list, right? So if we want to help people get success, what should we do? Should we start with the hardest, most difficult people, or should we go with the easiest? Easiest if we want to get more duplication, right? Let's stay easy. Why not stay easy? So number 1 group is the 10 easiest customer prospects. Who are the 10 easiest customer prospects out of all the people on your list? Who are the people who will love and will support you and will become your customer just because you ask? Who are those people? Love, support, and even better, they could afford it. You know what I mean? You can call them up and say, hey, would you support me? Would you be my customer? It would mean the world to me. Try out my product. Tell me how it works. That would mean a lot to me. Start there. Those who you've supported, call those people. You've supported them. Now it's their turn to support you. Why don't we start there? Pretty easy. Easier than some cold market prospect you've never met. third is those people you do business with right now. That's the easiest customer in the world to get. If you're paying them money for something that they're doing, well, it's pretty obvious that they should be your customer, at least to try your product. If you have an insurance agent and that insurance agent is not currently a customer of your product, you need a new insurance agent if they're not willing to be one. Do business with people who are doing business with you. I had that happen with my insurance agent once. I went to him, life insurance guy, and I said, hey, I'd like you to try my product. I'd like you to be a customer, even for a month or two, try it out. Give me your thoughts. He said, yeah, I just don't do that. I said, well, look, I'm your customer. I've been your customer for the last 3 years. I can get my insurance anywhere. You're telling me you're not willing to just try the product and service that I have? Yeah, and I'm not willing to try. I said, well, I think we're done. I literally, and he stuck to his guns. It was so weird. I mean, being a customer cost him literally $50 to try my product, and he just wouldn't do it. Okay. I went across the street, switched my insurance, and my new insurance guy said, I only have one requirement. I just need you to try my product. Not forever, not for every month for the rest of our lives, but you need to try it at least once. And give me your feedback. If you don't like it, I'm not going to obligate you to continue. If it doesn't serve you, I'm not going to obligate you to continue just because I'm your customer inside of this. But I am going to expect that you try it at least once out of respect. Okay. Sign right up. He's happy to do that. Think about all the places where you spend money. That's an easy place for an average person to go to be able to get a customer. And all we're trying to do with customer is get them to try our product. Almost all of marketing is getting somebody to try something. All the commercials on television, get somebody to try something, not get them to keep using it for forever. And that's all we want to do. Get them to try it. If they like it, they continue. If they don't like it, they can stop, give them an out. So the last category in the 10 easiest is who badly needs your product. Who needs your product just in a dramatic way? Go to those people and just say, look, I have a solution. It may help you. Okay? So 10 easiest customers. Next category, 10 easiest distributor prospects. 10 easiest distributor prospects. Who's highly ambitious? Who's competitive? Who's dissatisfied with what it is that they're doing? Who's a nonconformist? They don't like following the rules. Who would be fun to work with? Who can afford to get started? Let's start there. Make your 10 easiest out of all the thousands of people that you get on your list. Who are the 10 easiest ones that are the most likely candidates without a lot of resistance and without a lot of pain? And then take all the rest, and put them into 3 categories. 3 categories. Hot market. Hot market meaning those people who know you very well, very close friends and family, because you're going to approach hot market a very specific way. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Warm market, these are people they know you, but it's not super close. And then cold market. People how did they get on my list? I'm not sure. How are we friends with this person? I'm not sure. We're friends, I guess, but I don't think I've ever talked to them. You know what I mean? Cold market, you got their contact, or maybe they're a friend of a friend, put them into that list because you're going to approach that in its own way. So that's a basic outline of creating more contacts than you know how to deal with. That's what professionals do. And if you follow that simple bing, 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 those little bullet points I just gave you, I think you would agree you'd have more people on that list than you would have time to talk to them. And this is something you can do, something you can teach, something you can teach people to teach. So that's skill number 1. Skill number 2 is inviting. inviting people to understand what you have. See, a lot of people think that your goal is to sell the product, or your goal is to sell your opportunity and recruit somebody. That should not be your goal emotionally. Here's what professionals have as a goal: education and understanding. That's their whole goal. They want to educate the prospect to the point that they understand what you have. I want to educate you so you understand my product. I want to educate you so you understand the opportunity. And if it's not for you, that's fantastic. But once a person's educated, and education might include trying the product, education might include doing some research on the opportunity, whatever it happens to be. But once they become educated, then it's an easy yes or no, or a not now. But until they become educated, you can't just go close somebody that hasn't become educated. It's very difficult to do. When I first got involved in network marketing, I thought everyone would at least agree to take a look. And I found that that was not true. I don't know if it's people being cynical, people, having been approached with other things before, but you know what I mean? You go say, hey, I'd like to show you my product. They're like, no, not interested. Don't need any of that. I'm good. I said, you don't even know what I have. Yes, I know, but whatever it is, I'm not interested. You know why that's the case? We talked about it yesterday. There's too much exaggeration and hype inside of our world. As soon as they smell that this is part of network marketing, they go, oh, they're gonna start hyping me. They're gonna start over promoting me. They're gonna start promising the world to me. This is all that magic beans business where you just, join the thing and get rich. They don't believe it. Or people are too needy. Please look at my business, please. Or they're too cheesy, or they're inappropriate. They're passing out business cards at funerals, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, come on. So just to understand, our job is to help blind people see. That's our job. Our job is to educate the uneducated. Our job is to help get beyond the preconceptions that exist in their mind and professionally expose them to a quality product or a quality opportunity. That's our job. So professionals who are good at this and good at building a team around doing this, they have tremendous success, and the companies pay them unlimited dollars. So instead of complaining that everybody's negative and nobody's listening and nobody's open-minded and nobody will take a look at my opportunity and I just can't get anybody to take a look, I can't get anybody to join, I can't get anybody to try my product, instead of whining about that and complaining about that, decide that you're going to get better than the person sitting next to you at getting beyond their initial objections. When I took a look at professionals, let me tell you what I found. My research on professionals is they weren't needy. They weren't needy. They weren't cheesy. They asked more questions than they did pitch, present. They acted more like consultants than hunters. The average person in network marketing, they're going around with their opportunity like a gun. Like, I'm going to get them. I grew up in the country. Up in the Midwest of the United States, and that a lot of people go deer hunting up there. I'm not a big hunter, but a lot of people go deer hunting. And the day deer hunting season starts, every deer in the entire state knows. And they're just like, whoa, everybody get down, because it ain't safe. They're like the average prospect for network marketing. The moment your prospect feels you hunting, like you're going to get them, they just put up their defenses, they hide, they make themselves scarce, they stop answering their phone, they stop returning phone calls, they're not talking to you on Messenger anymore, they just literally go into the witness protection program. They can tell that you're hunting for them. I get to the next page on my notes, please. So the professionals, their goal is education and understanding. Their job is to start conversations with prospects and then keep those conversations going. They never apologize. And many of you are apologizing. Hey, could I get a minute of your time? Please, yes, it's network marketing, but just try to ignore that for a second. Because this is different. They put their shoulders back, they put their chest out, they put their chin up, and they know that they have a better way, and their job is to help educate the prospect, and their job is to get past the initial defenses, because that's what professionals do. They get past the defenses that the amateurs decide that it's impossible to get past. You say, well, nobody's listening to me. Well, if you keep that belief system inside of your head and your heart, then nobody ever will decide to get better. They had strong belief and conviction. They had strong passion. They weren't emotionally attached to the outcome. And they're more like coaches and consultants than salespeople. They're just there to educate. They're there to guide people to understanding what it is that you have. If this is your heart, to get somebody to understand your product, you're going to sell more product. If your heart is to get them to understand the value of network marketing and the opportunity with your company, you're going to sponsor more people. So don't be so outcome-oriented, results-oriented, be more process-oriented, and you'll have endless people wanting to join your business, wanting to get connected with you. Now, a lot of people ask me this question, what comes first, product or opportunity? Over time, you're going to educate people on both. But my encouragement to you, some cultures are different. Some cultures are very product heavy. Some cultures are very opportunity heavy. Follow your passion. Follow your prospects' interest. Find out where they happen to be. Here's what I've learned in big data and network marketing. People join for different reasons. Some join for the product. Some join for the opportunity. But an equal amount of people stay for different reasons. Some join for the product, stay for the opportunity. Some join for the opportunity, stay for the product. So entry point doesn't matter as much as I used to think it does. Just the fact that you get an entry point and you keep the conversation going, whatever that entry point is, and you let people find their place in your organization where they're comfortable. You love them all, regardless of what they want to do inside of the structure, and you're going to be good. So don't worry about entry point as much as keeping a conversation going after they enter. That's the most important. Because it is a mistake if you bring somebody in as a customer and then you cease communicating with them. You lose the opportunity to upgrade them to a distributor over time. And a lot of people do that. They bring them in as a customer and they kind of forget them. Like their job is over. Job's just beginning. So what are you inviting people to if you're going to be inviting people? You're inviting people to an event of some sort, in person or online. Large company events, small group, home meeting events, webinars, conference calls, Zoom calls, Facebook Lives, two-on-ones, one-on-ones. All of these can be done either face-to-face or using technology today. A Zoom call is what a hotel meeting used to be. You know what I mean? We have the opportunity with languages and everything else to do all these things. So events are one category or a tool. You're going to want to use a tool. Anything that's not you. A third-party tool is anything that's not you. So it's vitally important that you either use an event or a tool for the system of educating your prospect. It's vitally important. Please hear me. If it's just you giving the facts, you're going to have a very small business. If you want to have a big business that's growing around the world, a systemized business that's skill-proof and fear-proof, you need to either use an event strategy for exposing and educating those people, or a tool strategy that's exposing or educating those people. A tool could be anything that's not you, number one. It could be a video, could be audio, could be print, could be your product, could be news stories, could be a website, could be stories inside of your business, testimonials, so long as they're compliant, whatever it happens to be. But here's what I've got to tell you. To educate somebody, it's usually a series of these exposures between events and third-party tools to be able to ultimately educate people on what you have. And different companies have different strategies, and find out what's working best inside of your organization and utilize that. But we're going to be inviting people to one of those two things as a starting point. It's really dangerous if you're inviting people to listen to your wisdom. Super dangerous. Super challenging. Doesn't duplicate. That's the opposite of a system. You want to have a system? Have something that people use and they know to use. Everybody knows it, everybody does it, and it works. What do they do to, as a step one, to expose somebody to your product? What is the best step one you've got to expose somebody to your product? What are you using? And if you can simplify that, and I will tell you this, simple is hard. Complicated is really easy. Simple is hard. Simple takes leadership. Simple takes discipline. Simple takes being a custodian of your system. Simple means fighting off every distraction, weeding the garden. The garden doesn't just happen by itself. The gardener needs to have a plan, needs to make sure that the weeds don't take over, the bugs don't come in, needs to make sure that it's tended to properly. The garden is a decision. No decision and you have weeds everywhere throughout your organization. You have 500 systems inside of your organization. And if you live inside of an organization that has 500 systems, guess what? Your duplication is going to be very low. Find something. And we're going to, lots of case studies we're going to be talking about over the course of the next 2 days on little systems that people are using to have tremendous results. Okay? So think about what that exposure is, and then what's the second step, and what's the third step. And it's once you get beyond that initial, sometimes it branches off, sometimes it's do this and then get on a 3-way conversation with your leaders, or do this and then have them attend the Zoom call, or do this and then get together for coffee, or some sort of follow-up with a human being. Decide what yours is, and understand that it's going to take a series of exposures for a person to make a decision, but you're going to start the process either with an event or a third-party tool. If it's just you bragging about your product, just know your chances of duplication are virtually zero. Your chances of building a leverage business are virtually zero. No, even if you're the most amazing seller or presenter in the world, maybe especially if you are. Now, the great part about inviting people, because we're going to be inviting people to an event or a tool, right? You're going to decide what your event or tool is, whether it's in person, whether it's online, whether it's, the third-party tool, whether it's a story, whether it's sampling the product, whatever it is that you're going to do. We're going to be inviting them to do one of those things. Now, for the last 30 years, I've been teaching people an 8-step process to invite somebody over the phone or in person. And the most amazing thing happened in network marketing about 3-4 years ago, and everyone in the world decided that they were done talking on the phone. Remember when ringtones were a thing? When was the last time you hear somebody's phone ring? When somebody's phone rings in like an environment, everybody's like, who is that? And why do they have a phone ringtone? The entire world put their phone on silent years ago. It is currently rude. It's rude to call someone without texting them first. They're like, who are these people? Why are they don't they know the new etiquette of the world? You have to text me and find out if I'm available. It's the truth. Nobody wants to answer the phone. My daughter taught me this. She's in college. I call her up. She's sitting there in her dorm room doing nothing. She sees me on the caller ID. For no reason, she doesn't answer. But she texts me back, hey, Dad, really busy. What's up? What's up is I'm paying for this. Answer the phone. Oh, I'd love to, but I'm busy studying right now. I don't want to interrupt my friends. Liar. She's training me. Her approved method of communication. So I learned. And here's the greatest thing. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened in network marketing, ever. So if I take a person and let me find a millennial. Who's a millennial? Raise your hand. Okay, what's your name? Odine? How you doing? Yeah, nice to meet you. So if you had 100 people that you're friends, but not your family, just 100 whatever general friends, and you called them on the phone, how many of those people would answer the phone? Out of 100? Three? 3 people out of 100. So if you're trying to build a network marketing business, calling people on the phone, how frustrated is he going to be when all he gets is voicemail 97 times out of 100? Right? It's going to be super frustrating, right? You're going to feel like, I'm not sure if this is going to work. This is really terrible. I hate my life. Maybe this isn't for me. Exactly. Now, if you text the same 100 people with any message, just what's up?
I'll say about 85.
About 85 will respond. It's rude in today's world to not respond to a text, especially when you can see they read it. You read my text and you didn't respond, jerk. Even if you just said hello, you're going to get a response. Hey, what's going on? And now you've started a conversation. And that's where the invitation begins, is just starting a conversation with another human being. And in that conversation, you got a way to invite them to either that tool or that event in order for them to become more educated on what it is that you have. So the greatest thing in the world, that's number one. Number two, if I told you to call and to pitch your product to 100 people over the phone, or to invite people to your opportunity, to an event over the phone, first of all, he's going to be scared to death. He just joined yesterday. He's going to be scared to death. And he might be, oh, this is going to be easy. He calls the first one. The first one starts asking him, is this network marketing? What's going on with this? And what are you doing with this? And do you have any success? And how much money have you made? And blah. So I can tell him to call 100. He can agree that he's going to call 100. He goes home. Is he going to call 100? No. It ain't happening. Give him a big round of applause, would you? However, if I give him a basic invitation, I teach him how to say hello to these people. Now, he can do it on text message, which is best, or Facebook Messenger, or Instagram DM, or WhatsApp, or you name it, Twitter, wherever you're talking to your friends, Snap, you pick, whatever it is. Instagram. If I teach him how to start a conversation and then how to invite, the greatest thing is if they ask him a question he can think about. He can come ask me, how do I answer this? And now I equip him, oh, just tell him this. And he's like, tells him that, and he looks like a genius. It's incredible, right? So he doesn't have no skill, no fear. No skill, no fear. You can do that and hide behind the SMS message, the text message, okay? So at some point, at some point, once you become more highly skilled, would it be helpful for him to learn an 8-step invitation process if he gets them on the phone, or if he gets face-to-face with somebody and he professionally learns how to do an invite and properly frame that process? Yes, of course. He'll get there. Many of us have gotten there, but he doesn't need to start there. And he doesn't need that in order to be able to have success. For the last 30 years, people have needed that to be able to have success. So throw up the 8 steps that I've trained over the years on how to do an invitation. You have that, John? Up, 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 up. The other way, the other way, the other way. 8 step. The other way, the other way, the other way. Stop. Keep going, keep going. Keep going, keep going. Oh, never mind. The 8 steps don't matter. You can find that in GoPro, right? You can find that in GoPro. I talk about the 8 steps. I give you scripts. I give you the whole thing inside of the GoPro book. But I will just tell you, figure out a process for inviting, utilizing direct messages, text messages, etc. And if I'm working with you and I want to help you have success, I'm going to sit with you while you do some text messages and you start scheduling some exposures. And you're going to realize that this isn't scary, that you can do this, that this will be okay, that this is fine, okay? And that's something that you can duplicate. And I'll give you one quick little strategy, a leadership strategy, a little campaign. Sometimes you need a burst of energy. Want me to give you a campaign that will absolutely kick off 2020 in the biggest way possible? How many people would like to hear that? Say yes. I want you to put together the mother of all Facebook Lives, Zoom calls, webinars, whatever it is, for the first day of January. January 1st or 2nd, you pick which one it is. And I want you from now to then enroll every single person in your organization to attend that webinar, okay? It's vitally important that for the next 2.5 weeks, you move heaven and earth. You tell everybody this is non-negotiable. You've got to be on, no excuses. Go to the webinar or the Facebook Live or whatever. Make sure you raise your limits, raise your capacity, get more people to get on it, but get them on it, okay? That's step number 1. Step number 2 is you need to do a training on that webinar to start 2020 the strongest possible way. And here's the entire assignment. The entire assignment is for every person who watches that webinar to send 100 text messages to set up an exposure that day. If you do that webinar, let's say at 10 a.m., you tell them before you go to sleep, you need to send 100 text messages inviting people to either an event or a third-party tool to check out what you have, to see how many appointments you can set up, to see how many exposures you can set up. Because if you get 100 people to do that, you're going to set up at least 50 exposures. 50 out of 100 will say, yeah, sure, I'll get together for coffee. Yeah, sure, I'll take a look at your video. Yeah, sure, I'll try your product. Yeah, sure. 50 out of 100. Now, some of you have big organizations. Let's say you have 100 people that join your webinar, 100. And they send those 100 text messages. You're going to have to train their butts off in order to be able to do that. You're going to have to inspire them. You're going to have to tell them the benefit. You're going to have to get past their fear. You're going to have to empower them. You're going to have to give them scripts. You're going to have to do everything you need to do in order to be able to make that happen. But if you get 100 people to do it in that first part of January, you will schedule 5,000 exposures for the month of January, just with 100. If you have 1,000, it's what, 500,000? No, is that right? It's a lot. Some of you have companies. If you have a company, I would get every single person in your company onto that thing, and I would do the training, encourage them, bring in the leadership, do whatever. And if you got 50,000 people to get onto a live or onto some sort of a platform to be able to get this, and it's part of a big event to start the year, and 50,000 people send out 100 text messages, and 50 out of the 100 set up an exposure. What is 50,000 times 50? Somebody do the math for me. 2.5 million exposures in January. A burst of energy, something everybody can do. Training in order to be able to help them do it. So inviting has changed, and I will tell you, some smart people do that little burst, the micro burst. If you got a little team, here's what I would do if you have a little team. You're not a company and you're not a huge leader. Let's say you got 10 people on your team. Get those 10 people together on January 2nd in your living room if they live in your local town, on Skype if they're outside of the town, and sit there with them for 2-3 hours until they send their 100 messages. And you will have the best month you've ever had in your entire career just from that one little campaign, that one little system. I have leaders that I've trained this concept that literally go from market to market, living room after living room, and all they do is have little competitions so you can send the most text messages, so you can schedule the most appointments over the course of 2-3 hours. They bring in food, they have something to drink, and they schedule all of that stuff. This is something that you can do. All right, so that's skill number 2. Skill number 3, we're gonna go fast. I've got 1 hour in order to be able to cover 5 more skills. So we're gonna go fast. Skill number 3 is presenting. Presenting your opportunity to your prospects. Other way, Paula, keep going. You'll get there. There it is. Okay. Common mistakes that I see inside of presenting. When I look around the world, I'm training people around the world. The distributor recites facts, statistics. Let me tell you about our comp plan. Let me tell you about our product. Let me tell you about our team. Let me tell you about our company. First party, huge mistake. They don't use third-party tools and events. They pretend to be an expert. Lots of hype, lots of exaggeration. One of the best tools in the world that you need to teach every single person in your organization is how to tell your story. Your story is actually third party, even though it's your story. It's a story. People can relate to stories. They don't relate to facts and figures. Now, we don't have time to do it today. Normally, I do a little workshop on how a person can tell their story. And John, maybe you can find somebody who has the link to that training, or we can give people a link to that training before it's over. It's about an 18-minute long training where I teach people how to tell their story. But let me just right now tell you there's 4 parts to a story. Number 1 is your background. I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor, I'm a postal worker, I'm a pilot, I'm a nurse, whatever. Number 2, what you didn't like about it. You might enjoy it, you might want to continue to do it the rest of your life, but there's something that isn't fully satisfying. Maybe you're not making enough money, you're not recognized, it's a political environment, it's hard on your body, you're tired of the commute, you want to spend more time with your family, whatever, okay? What you didn't like. 3, that you found a solution. Through your product, through your opportunity, you found a solution. And part 4, how you feel about the future. How you feel about the future. Now that you found the solution, regardless of your results, regardless of your success, every single person in this room has this story. And I will tell you, normally what I do is I teach people, number 1, I break them into groups and I have them tell their story to somebody next to them following this little template. They realize, oh my gosh, I have a story. And then 2, I tell them the most important element of this story. Put up the 4 things again, John. 4 parts of the story. When I tell them this, I ask them, which do you think is the most important? Most people think it's how you feel about the future or that you found a solution. And in truth, the most important part of your story is what you didn't like about your background. That's what builds rapport with another human being, your pain. What causes a person to think that they're like you, that they have the same frustrations and issues as you. So I have people do it again and focus on the painful part to be able to build more rapport with a human being. And then 3rd, I have them do it a 3rd time, but I tell them that they cannot talk about their background or what they didn't like about their background All they can talk about is their solution and how they feel about the future. And they feel how ugly that presentation is. It feels braggy, feels pushy, feels salesy, feels uncomfortable, feels awkward. People want to get out of that conversation. So I let them know nobody cares about your opportunity until they know who you are. Nobody cares about how cool your future is until they know that there's another human being that they can relate to first. Okay, so in presenting your story, the best presenters in the world, you know what they do? They tell their story first. If they're on a Zoom call or they're on a FaceTime or whatever it is, Skype, they tell, hey, before I get into this, can I just tell you my story? And you should be able to tell your story in less than 2 minutes. When they do a home meeting, first thing they do is tell their story. When they do a Zoom call, first thing they do is tell their story. At their local training, first thing they do is tell their story. You have to build it into the culture of your organization that everybody has learned how to tell their story. Practice your story with your upline. Have them give you some refinement. Sometimes you might you go for 10 minutes on your story. That's not going to be effective. If you get on a phone call with somebody, tell your story every single time you can. And I will tell you this, practice this. And I would give everybody in this auditorium a challenge. In the next 30 days, tell your story 100 times to 100 different people. Tell your story to, you know what? Most members of your family don't know your story, really. Your spouse might not know your story because you're trying to protect them from your pain. Your kids might not know your story because you're trying to protect them from your challenges. Tell your team your story. Tell your upline your story. Tell your cross-line friends your story. Tell your owner your story. Tell your CEO your story. Tell your dog your story. Tell yourself the story. Look in the mirror and tell yourself the story. Seriously. Get in the habit. This is a habit. The top professionals have this as a habit because it's one of their best tools to be able to grow a business. So presenting, once you've learned how to tell your story, use third-party tools in your presentation whenever possible. The only time to not use third-party tools in your presentation is when you are the third-party tool for one of your distributor's prospects. The distributor, one of your team members has a prospect, they bring you in to be the third-party tool. That's the only time that you would be giving the facts, okay? So if you're unskilled, you have to use third-party tools. When I first got started in network marketing, I used my upline because they were successful and I had 18 jobs by the time I was 23. So I dragged people in front of my upline and had the upline do the presentation. Close them, do everything. Third party. And then I found out that there was local meetings at the hotels in my area in Minneapolis, Twin Cities. And I started to bring people to the local meetings. The meeting did the work for me. I got to sign them up, third party. And then somebody in the company came out with a videotape that was unbelievable. And I found out that I had a traveling meeting that I could put a videotape in front of somebody, I could push play, and the tape would do the work. I didn't have to do the work. I didn't have to be the expert. And I learned really fast. I needed to get out of the way because if people looked at me as a 23-year-old, they were not going to be sufficiently impressed to join my business. If I was the issue, it was going to be a problem. So I learned to point. They asked me a question and say, well, let's go look. How's the compensation plan? Well, let's go look. Let's go ask this person. Let's check out this video. Let's look at this brochure. Let's see what the ingredients say on the product. Let's look over there. Don't look at me, look over there. So I learned out of necessity because I wasn't skilled that I had to use a bigger hammer than I had in my capacity. Okay? That's number one. If you're unskilled, you have to do it. If you have some skill, you have to do it. You have to use third party. You're like, wait a minute. I thought I'm going to learn how to do the presentation. I'm going to get up in front of the room. I'm going to wow them with all of my wisdom. And I did that when I was rebuilding my organization 7 times in my 3 years, I was the guy. Put them in front of me. I'll close them for you. And nobody did anything if I wasn't in the room. I had no duplication. All I had was addition and subtraction, and addition and subtraction. I didn't have this multiplication thing. I didn't even understand how that would possibly work because I learned the presentation. I'm equipped, I'm professional, I know what to do. But I learned even there, unless I was talking to somebody else's prospect, I needed to shut up when it came to facts and figures and information, and I needed to learn to point, read, introduce, and tell stories. I learned if my lips were moving, I've got to point, read, introduce, or tell a story. I cannot be the fact giver if I expect to have duplication in my business. I just can't. So if you have some skill, you need to check your ego at the door. Because if you have to be the guy, if you got to be the girl, then congratulations. Everybody's going to look up to you and you're not going to have a downline that's going to duplicate. You can have your little tribe of people who come in and out of your little circle. You'll have your little posse following you around like little puppy dogs, but you won't have residual income to speak of. So if you're slightly skilled, that's second group why you can't do it. If you're highly skilled, you especially can't do it. Not with your prospects. And you know why? You'll be intimidating to the people taking a look. You want the prospect to be able to say, hey, this looks simple. I think it'll work. And I think I could do it. That's what you want, right? And if you're amazing, just unbelievable, perfect, polished, have answers to every question, just overcome every objection, you close 100% of the people in the room. Guess the message you're sending to that prospect? This doesn't look simple. They're highly skilled. Congratulations to them. It's going to work for them, but I don't think I can do it. So good luck. Wish you the best. Congratulations to you. You're clearly a pro. So the superstars learn to get themselves out of the way. Point, read, introduce, tell stories when it comes to their prospects. Now, they can become a third party for their team's prospects, but not their own. Understand? So, in presentation, anytime you can do that, it's going to be helpful. And last thing I got to tell you about this, and this is a higher level. To grow a business, to duplicate a business, to be able to expand a business around the world, you need to use third-party tools whenever possible, okay? I think we can agree on that. At least I hope you agree on that. This is 30 plus years of experience. This rule has never been violated when it comes to duplication. Just trust me. You got to get great at using third-party events or tools in order to be able to expose your business properly. Systemize that as aggressive as you can in order to be able to get it moving. Now, there's another level. Some people say only do what duplicates, and I would disagree with that. There's core things that duplicate on a high level, and then there's some things that duplicate on a lower level, but they're still important. I'll give you an example. How many people use home parties on some level inside your organization? Yeah, they work, but does everybody in the organization do them? Nope. It's like 3% of the distributors in your organization do them. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do them. It just means don't make people feel bad if they don't. Because you're going to make 97% of your people feel bad and feel like they're inadequate to build your business. So in presenting, I got to tell you one secret that changed my life, changed my career. And that's this. You need to learn to say the words. At some point, not just point, read, introduce, tell stories, but for your team's sake, you need to become the third-party tool. For your team's sake, you need to learn how to say the words and be highly skilled at doing it. It changed my whole life when I learned to say the words. I started with a testimonial. I learned how to tell my story. And once I did that, I was empowered. I was able to, in an environment, tell my story and build rapport. And I started to get excited about finding ways to tell my story to more people. It built confidence in me. And then I learned how to do an opportunity presentation. And I can't tell you, the top earner in our company did the same presentation every single time. Same jokes, same open, same close, exactly same tired little thing, but he was number one earner. So I recorded his conversation. He never changed it. And I wrote down the script of his presentation word for word on a legal pad. You know, remember play, rewind, play, rewind. And I wrote it all down on a legal pad, and I recorded my own voice into an audio. And it was terrible. You ever hear your own voice for the first time? It's just like, whoa, no. There's something wrong with this recording. This is not, right? The energy was awful. Like, I wouldn't join me listening to this. This is terrible. Same words, different energy. So I listened to the right music, get myself pumped up, smiled, and I recorded my voice again. And it was a little, after like 4 or 5 times, it was a little bit better. And I put that audio into my car and I listened to that thing 1,000 times. I'm an introverted person. Here was my defense mechanism for being introverted. Okay. Introverted meaning I lose energy in a crowd, in social situations where I don't know a lot of people. It's hard on me. Like an event like this, even though you're my family, on Sunday, I'm going to be drooling, staring out the window. You know, but I'm psyched up for this. I'm ready to go for this. You know what I mean? So I was afraid I wasn't one of those extroverted, gregarious, 3-foot rule, grabbing people by the lapel saying, join me. You know what I mean? Because I watched those people do that stuff. I was like, that's not me. I don't want to do that. But I could act. So I treated the presentation like a one-man play. I learned my lines. And I pretended I was the top earner in the company. And I got that presentation down cold. I could do it today. I mean, I memorized 30 minutes. Same jokes, same open, same close. I could tell you what the close is. You want to know what the close of that presentation was? Here's the close. Ladies and gentlemen, this ends the first part of our presentation. I hope you got value learning about our product and our opportunity. The next step is for you to right now circle up with the person that brought you to this opportunity and get your questions answered. There's no such thing as bad questions. Your questions need to be answered, and those people are going to be equipped to do it, and I'll be walking around in order to be able to do that. You know why I learned to do that? Because the top earner learned to do that, and everybody else just said goodbye and go home. I told them this is it, end of the first part of the presentation. Now get together with the person who brought you, and they're going to go through the second part of the presentation. All right, I'll see you in a minute. I did this thing. Once I got this down, I was bulletproof. I mean, I could do a 7-minute version of this on the phone. The entire presentation. I could do a 15-minute version in a living room. I could do a 40-minute version in a hotel room. You know what I mean? I just, what do you want to know? You want to know about the company? I got it. You want to know about the products? Got it. You want to know about timing? I got it. You want to know about the opportunity? I got it. You want to know about support? I got it. And I stopped running away from opportunity presentation opportunities, or the opportunities to present my product or business, and I started looking for them. That's one thing that happened. The second thing that happened when I learned the words is my team went, we have a leader. We can bring people to him. We can brag about the fact that guy who's so good at the presentation, he's our upline. And they started doing things and acting in ways that they normally wouldn't act. And they started taking action that they normally wouldn't take because I became the leader that I wasn't before. I learned to say the words. And then after I learned to do the opportunity presentation, I learned how to do a little quick start training. How do I tell people A, B, C? Here's how you get started with your business. I learned how to do a game plan interview. I learned how to do a 3-hour training for a Super Saturday. right? Ultimately, I learned how to do keynote talks. And most of it, I got to tell you, I borrowed from Les Brown and Jim Rohn and everybody else. I was just doing their stuff. And slowly I developed my own style, right? You could do the same, but your team is waiting for you to show up. And some of you are using third party, and that's great, and you need to when it comes to your prospects. But for your team to go to the next level, you need to go to the next level. You need to become the leader that they deserve. You need to stop hiding behind your upline. You need to stop hiding behind the tool and stop hiding behind the company. And you need to become a world-class presenter. Commit yourself to this skill, not for your prospects. You're still going to use third party for them, but for your team. Okay? Get world-class at this. All right, that's skill number 3. Skill number 4, follow up. Follow up. The fortune is in the follow-up. Why is follow-up so important? Because very few people will join after one exposure. They take a look at it one time. Like on social now, I mean, in network marketing, it takes about 4 to 6 exposures for a person to make a decision. But online, it takes like 500. You see an ad, oh, that's interesting, you don't act. You see another ad, oh, that's interesting, you don't act. How many people have a My Pillow? Anybody have a My Pillow here in the room? How many times did you see the ad before you finally decided to get a My Pillow? 200 times. And you finally got a My Pillow. Do you like your My Pillow? You got it a month ago. He loves his My Pillow. That's the way it is. You might be interested, but you're just not going to take the next step. So we need to become professional at follow-up. Follow-up is simply doing what you said you were going to do, right? And here's one thing that you need to understand. The only reason to have an exposure, whether it's an event exposure or a tool exposure with a person, the only reason is to set up the next exposure. Our job is conversation. Our job is continuing that conversation. So we introduce somebody to our product, and then we take them to our Zoom call, and then we introduce them to our upline, and then we tell them a story, and then we send them a brochure, or we have them sample the product, or whatever it happens to be. It takes 4 to 6 exposures for the average person to join. So what's the lesson in that? Keep your urgency, but have patience. Be professional. Keep your urgency. Yes, keep moving. But here's the big mistake. Remember I told you yesterday we got all these little rhymey phrases inside of network marketing? One of them is some will, some won't, so what? And we go away from people really, really fast out of our own insecurity. Because if somebody gives us the tiniest little objection, like, oh, I guess they're not into it, we're gone. Takes 4 to 6 exposures. Have urgency, keep your urgency, but have patience. And condense the exposures for best results. I just got to tell you, if you're going to do 6 exposures over 6 weeks, you're going to get 1 result. If you do six exposures over 6 days, you're going to get another result. You do 6 exposures over 72 hours, you're going to get a 3rd result. So the shortest time, keep the urgency, keep them distracted, keep them thinking about you, keep them dreaming, versus letting their life get in the way. I got to tell you, my evolution on objections went something like this, because I hated objections. Oh, I hated it so much. So my first reaction was to run away really fast. I went to somebody and they say, you know, hey, is this legit or it's just a scam? I guess you're one of those people that doesn't like network marketing. Shoo. And I'd run away. Some people say, well, you know, I just don't agree with this ingredient that's in the product. I'd just run away. Whatever it happened to be. Okay, whatever their story is that they were selling me, I'd buy that story. And I'd just run away. Some will, some won't, so what next? I wasn't a professional to get beyond helping the blind person see at all. So that was number one, my first phase. Second phase is I fought everybody. I fought them all. Person says, well, you know, I just don't agree with this ingredient. Well, you're smoking a cigarette right now. You haven't looked at an ingredient in 5 years in the grocery store. Come on, fatty. I'd fight with everybody. People say, I just don't have the time. Oh, really? How much time are you scrolling on your phone? Give me your phone. Let me see your phone. I want to see your phone. 4.5 hours of screen time. Don't tell me you don't have time. I would argue with everybody. I got to talk to my wife. Oh, really? She runs things, huh? I fight them all. I just don't believe in network marketing. Oh, I guess you're one of those people. This is one of those network marketing things. You mean like every government in the world, every sports team in the world, every organization in the world, that kind of pyramid thing? Is that what you're talking about? Fight them all. Ignorant jerks. It's just my defense mechanism, right? It was my insecurity coming out in different ways. It was my frustration over people's lack of vision. But how good do you think my results were for doing that? Really bad. Really bad. They say you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Lie. I think I've single-handedly chased away 1,000 people from network marketing forever. From my lack of skill. Serious. You can say the wrong thing to the right person. Believe me, we got to get better. And then finally, I learned to embrace the process. Just say, you know what? Embrace the fact that if they're asking questions, that was better than anything else. It would give me an opportunity to build rapport. It would give me an opportunity to bring value into the relationship. It would help this blind person see. I started to have compassion for that person instead of resistance to that person and aggression towards that person. Remember I told you about 4 to 6 exposures. Remember, it's you need to learn to be patient because there's some people here in this room that was 20 exposures before you finally said yes. Some people in here in this room is 10 years of somebody dripping on you before you finally said yes. Because they never overstepped. They were always a friend. They were always professional. And you need to understand part of this resistance to opportunity is built into our DNA. I'll give you an example. It's kind of a crude example, but I'll give it to you anyway. You might have heard it before, but I'll tell you anyway. Let's say one of you young ladies is single and ready to mingle. And you go to a lounge in the place and you're with your girlfriends and you're looking and you look across the bar and there is a very handsome man. And he's looking at you. And you immediately ignore him. Talk with your friends. That's what you've been taught to do. Don't act too needy. And then your friend says, hey. Your friend says, hey, he's coming over. Oh, shit. And he walks up and says, hi. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is, and I'd like to take you home right now and sleep with you. Now let's just assume for a moment that you want to. What have you been trained to do since birth? No, you pig. Slap him in the face, throw a drink in his face. Get out of here, jerk. Exposure number 1. But then let's say he says, look, I'm sorry. My friends dared me to do this crazy little joke. They didn't think I would do it. I'm so sorry if I offended you. You know, I should have been thinking. It was just all, you know, a put up. Can I buy you a drink? I promise you I'm not a psycho. I'll buy you a drink, I'll leave you alone. Oh. Okay. Buy me a drink. And get out of here, pig. Exposure number 2. And then say later on in the night, you know, he sends over another drink. And he finally comes over and he says, you know, look, you know, me and my friends are leaving. Again, I'm sorry. I hope you accept my apology. I do think you're unbelievably attractive and you seem to be a really nice person. And I'd love to call you at some point or just connect with you if that would be okay with you. And if it's not, I totally get it. But I just think you're amazing. Would that be okay? All right, here's my number. And then the next day he calls and says, you know, hey, I hope you had a good night. And then again, you know, I hope that's going to be something crazy in the future. But would you be open to having coffee, you know, in the next 3 days? Doesn't need to be a date, just a coffee date. Just to prove that I'm not a psycho. Exposure number 4. So I don't know how long it takes for you to sleep with them. But somewhere in the exposure process, if you don't screw it up, your chances will improve. So it's a crude example, but I just got to tell you, it's pretty similar. Inside of network marketing, we just jump in. Hey, join my business. Join me, please. Join me. I need you to join me. Come on, join me. And they're like, whoa, way too needy. This feels a little bit weird. Get out of my face, weirdo. Stop spamming me. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry I made you feel uncomfortable. Next exposure. Check out this. Next exposure pretty soon. The magic happens. But would it be better if you didn't have a crude first attempt? Answer, of course. But even if you do, if you keep the exposure going, you keep the conversation going, you keep the proximity going, you keep the communication going, chances are excellent. Person's going to become educated. Person's going to become knowledgeable about what it is that you have. And then they can make a decision whether there's a fit for you or not. You know, because sometimes that person you met in that bar, even though they're a nice person, they're just not compatible with you. And that's okay. Once they learn about your habits, they learn about your psychology, they learn about how you live your life, and they decide it's not a fit for them, that doesn't make it bad. It's okay. That's just part of life. But to give it a chance, you got to keep the conversation going. So, 4-step process for objections. Just understand this. There's only 2 types of objections in the world. 2 types. A person has a limiting belief about network marketing. It doesn't work. It's a scam. You know, only people at the top make money. Products are overpriced and products are inferior. You know, most people lose money. All that stuff. They got a limiting belief about network marketing, or they have a limiting belief about themselves. I don't have the time. I'm too successful. I'm not successful enough. I don't have enough contacts. I don't have the money to start. Some limiting belief about themselves. It's one of those 2 things, right? So our job, it's only a handful. I mean, if we made a list of objections, it'll go into 2 buckets. But guess how long you're going to have to deal with I don't have the time for the rest of your life. Guess how long you're going to have to deal with I don't have the money for the rest of your life. I'm not a salesperson for the rest of my life. I don't want to bother my friends for the rest of my life. I don't think this is legitimate for the rest of your life. Just so instead of running from it or being mad at it, just get better at it. Whoever gets best at this wins. So simple four-step process for dealing with any objection. Number one, listen. Somebody says, I don't have the time, listen to them. Make sure you're understanding what it is that they mean. Because sometimes the objection that they give you is a lie. It's just a reflex. It's not even real. I don't have the time right now. That's just a reflex reaction. They have the time if they felt it was valuable. They do it, right? So listen, make sure you truly understand, number one. Number two, relate. Relate to them. Oh my gosh, you're just like me. I don't have the time. You're not going to believe this. When I first took a look at this, I didn't think I had the time either. I was busy doing this and this and this and this. I'm assuming you have the same situation. We're the same, you and me. Anytime you can, relate. Sometimes you can't. Person says, I can't do this right now. I'm pregnant. Oh my gosh, me too. You can't do that. But you can say, you know what? There's people in my organization that had the same exact issue. They didn't think they could do it because they were pregnant too. And you could relate to them through that other story. Doctor says, I can't do this. I'm a brain surgeon. You can say, well, there's some other doctors in the organization. They thought they couldn't do it too. It's the same. It's amazing. Right? So relate. Step two. Step three, tell a story. Your story or other people's stories. Give you an example. Person says, I don't have the money. Say, you're not going to believe this. When I first took a look at this opportunity, I didn't think I had the money either. Because who has extra money? I don't know anybody who has a lot of extra money. I think no matter how much you're making, at the end of the month, you got this tiny little bit, and that's your whole lifestyle. You got like $200 at the end of the month, and that's all the fun that you get to have. Everything else goes towards bills. And I was freaked out because I was already working really hard inside of my business, inside of my job, and I didn't have any extra money. But you know what I realized for me? That if I didn't change something, I was never going to have any extra money. I realized for me that the pain of not doing something was bigger than the pain and the risk of doing something. I decided that I needed to change if I wanted something to change in my life. I've decided that I was never going to say again, I don't have the money to do something that I wanted to do. So you know what I did? I just got scrappy. I found some stuff, sold it on Amazon that was in my garage. I found some stuff. I had a garage sale. I moved some things around. I said no to some other things. I turned cable off for 2 months. And I just decided that that my future was more valuable than my current comfort. Even if that comfort was just survival. That's what I realized. So that's an example of a story, right? You can tell the story of the pregnant person who joined or the neurosurgeon that joined or whatever story it is. Tell the story that gives them, and don't point at them and say, you need to do this. Tell your story and let them relate. Let them go, you know what? Me too. My gosh, what am I doing? I only got $200 and I got to say no to an opportunity that cost me $100 or $200 to join an opportunity. I got to say no to that because I don't have the money. I'm 40 years old. Really? What in the world? What plan did I buy? I got to make a different decision here. But don't tell them you got to make a different decision because then they'll resist you. So tell your story, relate to them, be vulnerable, and then ask the question, if I would you? Say, look, after you're done telling your story, if I could show you exactly how to figure out the money thing, how to get scrappy, how to get creative, how to make things happen, would you be willing to at least explore that? Most of the time you find out if that's a real objection or if it isn't. Person says, I don't have the time. Listen, I totally get it. I was stressed out, freaked out, didn't have time for myself, didn't have time for my family. And the idea of adding a business that I was going to have to commit more time was stressing me out. But I realized that if I didn't have time right now, I was never going to have time. What was going to change in the next 10 years? Nothing. And if I didn't make a sacrifice now of some of my time as an investment in my future, I was never going to be able to get off this treadmill. So I just decided to say no to a few things in order to be able to say yes to my future and for my family's future. So let me ask you a question. If I could show you how to get a little creative with some of your time and turn that into an investment in your future, would you be willing to take a look? Would you be willing to explore it? Would you be willing to consider it? Answer is almost always, of course. On every objection. These 4 steps will help you. You can take a little practice. Somebody says, I hate network marketing. Well, listen and understand, what do you hate about it? What bothers you about it? I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Do you have some experience with it? Is this part of your story? Is it somebody you had a problem? Somebody in your family had a problem? Where does this emotion come from? Tell me your story, because you got a story. Tell me your story. And once they tell you a story, listen, me too. I've looked at network marketing. I said, never, ever, 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 ever. That's not me. When they first presented this to me, I was just almost offended that they were presenting this to me. But I did a little bit of homework because I trusted the person. And what I realized was this, and this. So let me ask you a question. If I could show you some information, you could become convinced that this was for real. Would you at least be willing to take another look? Because network marketing's grown up, in my opinion. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a little higher level skill. For beginner people, you want to make sure that you're doing a lot of the helping with the objections, or they're using tools to be able to do this whenever possible. But at some point, you need to become skilled at dealing with questions and objections. Got it? All right. Skill number 5. This good stuff so far? How many people have at least 4 pages of notes? All right, fantastic. How many people have at least 10 ideas that they've collected so far? All right, fantastic. Skill number 5 is helping your prospects become customers or distributors. Closing. If you have a lot of people thinking about it, you're probably unskilled at helping a person make a decision. Now, you don't want to hard close somebody so they're making a decision they don't want to make because they're just going to unjoin you as quickly as they joined you. But you do want to skillfully help them see what being involved could look like. Okay? So, first thing, good posture. Professionals have good posture when it comes. I used to have terrible posture. I'd finish the presentation and then I just go, so what do you think? I just fold. I just fold up. I get really small, kind of posture-wise. It took me a while to just kind of get big and be very assumptive, assuming that they're going to join. Good posture, good questions. Questions are your friend. Questions are the professional's friend. Now, again, it's important that you're not emotionally attached to the outcome. You're there to educate them. You're there to guide them through the process. Detach yourself emotionally. But it's also important to be very assumptive. Assume that they're going to join. Assume they're going to be a customer. When you have that posture and you act a little bit surprised when they don't want to, it plants a seed of doubt about their own decision in their minds. It's like, well, maybe I should reconsider this. If you act like this is the first person to ever say no, you're like, really? You don't want to? What? I've never had this experience before. I don't know what to do. Next, it's very important that you promote yourself as much as you promote your company. Promote yourself as much as you promote your company. What do I mean by that? You get me. When you join the organization, you join this company, you get connected to this product, you get me. You get me, we can work together. 1 + 1 adds up to 10. We could do something spectacular together. Come on, let's go on an adventure. You and me. Let's go shake things up. Let's go do something outrageous. I believe in you, right? Next, always be prepared. Always be prepared. Be prepared to help them sign up. Be prepared with tools. Be prepared with third-party materials. Always be prepared. The amateurs are never prepared. Professionals are always prepared. Next, ask questions through the process. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. And let me give you 6 questions at the end of every exposure that will change your whole life. 6 questions. I literally, the people who have used this simple process to help a person make a decision, this is mostly for opportunity. For product, it's just like, hey, you're in or you're out. You're going to try it or not? You know, if you're my hot market, come support me. If I do business with you, reciprocate. You know what I mean? Try it out. Give it a whirl. See what's the risk? $80, $60, $50, whatever. Try it out. It's not that big a deal, right? So, but for the business, 6 questions will change your whole world. Okay? Change your whole world. Really, really critical. And if you learn, these 6 sounds like a lot, and it's not. Okay? It's not. If you practice, like, do we have any doctors in the room? Doctor? So how long did you go to school to become a doctor? 7.5 years. And then how long did you intern beyond that? Or was that part of it? That was part of it? How about, okay, so 7.5 years. And if you figured out all of that, you had to do your undergraduate stuff too. So probably college and then medical school? Chiropractic school. Okay, 7.5 years for chiropractic school, okay? So figure out how many hours a week approximately did you practice for those 7.5 years before you started? 60 hours a week for 7.5 years. Somebody do the math. 52 weeks times 60 times 7.5. 21,000? That's pretty fast. Pretty good. 21,000 hours to crack your bones. I know it's more than that, but but I also know that you really love the crack the bones. It's just the whole feeling of it is just, oh, I cracked the bone. I'm just teasing. I love chiropractic. So 21,000 hours before they unleash you to the world. I'm not asking you to practice closing people for 21,000 hours, but I'd ask for 2 hours. Would you practice for 2 hours to become world class? And can you become world class at this skill in 2 hours? The answer is pretty close. You can become competent in 2 hours, world class in 100. But most of you can't be bothered with that. Like, no, I want to go start my chiropractic business now, even though I've never went to school. You think your passion's enough. Dr. Comp walks in. Have you seen that commercial? Guess who just got reinstated? Well, not really. Doctor walks into the hospital. You nervous? Yeah, me too. Oh, don't worry, we'll figure it out. Do you want that doctor? No. So here's what I ask you to do. Just focus on your skills. Become good at this, you know what I mean? Not necessarily that you need to be the system for everybody, but if you're a security blanket with some competent skills from top down, the leader is going to be somebody that's aspirational. You're going to use systems to start, skills to continue, and leadership is going to drive that whole machine. Okay? So here's 6 questions to ask at the end of every presentation. You can bake this into your tools or your events. It would be the best thing to do. If you're doing a Zoom call, you need to do these 6 at the end of the Zoom call because your distributor is not capable of doing it. Question number 1. The worst question in the world is, what did you think? Worst question in the world. What did you think? Best is, what did you like best about what you just saw? What did you like best? Oh, I like the product. I like this. I like that. I like this. I like that. It'll give you some clues, but it kind of doesn't matter. Because I'm asking question number 2 anyway. Question number 2, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you right now? 1, you're not interested at all. 10, you're ready to get started right now. Where are you? Scale of 1 to 10. Well, guess what you're going to get a lot of? 6s. They don't want to seem like a cheap date. Somebody says 7, they're joining for sure. Anything over a 1 is good. If they're a 2, all that means is they're skeptical. You got some work to do. And guess what? Even if they say I'm a -5, these 6 questions will work. You don't believe me? I can prove it. Question number 1, what'd you like best? This. Oh, fantastic. A scale of 1 to 10, where are you? I'm a 5. All right, fantastic. Let me ask you a couple questions. Hypothetically, I love words like this. Hypothetically, off the record, just between you and me, you know. Hypothetically, if you were to get started with this business and you were going to build it on a part-time basis, approximately how much would you need to earn per month in order to make it worth your time? About how much? Think, what would be worth it? Because everybody has a number that would be worth their time. Worth your time is vital. Everybody has a number that's worth their time. The richest person you know has a number that would be worth their time. Versus asking if they want to start a business. Okay? Hypothetically, off the record, if we did do this, I'm not saying you're going to, but if we did, about how much would you need to earn in order to make this worth your time? Oh, I need to earn that much. All right, fantastic. So realistically, next question, how many hours a week do you think you could commit to developing that type of income? How many hours do you think, realistically? Oh, let's say that they say their number is $1,000 a month. How many hours a week do you think you can commit to developing that type of income? Oh, I could give you 10 hours. All right, fantastic. How many months would you be willing to work the 10 hours a week while you were developing that $1,000 monthly income in our business? Guess what you're going to get a lot of? 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And then question number 6 is just simply, if I would you? If I could show you how to develop $1,000 monthly income with our business, working about 10 hours a week over the course of the next 9 months, would you be willing to take the next step? If I would you? You know how hard it is to say no to that? It's so hard. So hard. So somebody bring me a microphone, please. I don't know where is it there? Thank you. So who would like to be a -5 person at the end of my presentation? Who would like to be a -5 person? You want to be a -5? All right, stand up. What's your name?
Anthony Gonzalez.
Anthony Gonzalez. Everybody say hi, Anthony. So Anthony, I just finished a presentation, and you're like this, you're super sour. And I go, hey, so Anthony, you just saw this presentation. What'd you like best about it?
Kind of bored me.
Kind of boring. What was boring about it? The product, the opportunity, what was it?
The whole thing just didn't interest me.
Just didn't interest you. Yeah, I totally get that. So let me ask you a question. I think I know the answer, but I asked you the question anyway. On a scale of 1 to 10, let's say 1, you have 0 interest, and 10, you're ready to get started right this second, build a business. Where would you be on that list?
Give you a 2.
A 2. I want you to be a -5.
-5.
-5. So you have no interest at all.
Correct.
All right. So let me just ask you, hypothetically, Anthony, just for fun, okay? Between you and me, and I know you're not interested. Totally get it. But if you were interested, how much would you need to earn per month if you're doing this part-time? How much would you need to earn per month to make this worth your time?
$1,000.
$1,000. Okay, if you were, and I know you're not, but if you were, $1,000 would be worth your time?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And approximately how many hours a week do you think you could commit to developing $1,000 income? If you're going to do it, I know you're not, but if you were.
10.
10 hours. All right. And how many months would you give it? Working those 10 hours a week to develop $1,000 monthly income?
6.
6 months. All right. So let me ask you a question, just for fun, Anthony. I know you're not interested, and I know you don't want to do it, but if I could show you for real how to develop $1,000 monthly income, working 10 hours a week over the course of the next 6 months, would you at least be willing to take the next step and explore it?
Sign me up.
See, he's not as tough he's not as tough as some people would be. But here's what I would tell you: how do you say no to that? Really hard, because every single answer is their answer, and then all you're doing is offering back. If I give you everything you want, would you be willing to take the next step? How do they say no? Because they're saying no to themselves. This is the best. This works in every culture. This works in every language. This works around the world. If you'll just learn to go boom, 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 and you don't need to have 21,000 hours to learn it. You can learn it in a couple hours, practice it, get better. But once you do, you're free. End of every presentation, end of every call, end of every exposure, end of every product sample, and end of everything. Let me ask you a question. What'd you like best? Scale of 1 to 10, where are you? You know, what's the money? What's the hours that you can commit? What's the months? And if I can give it to you, and all you got to do is be able to give it to them, show them on paper what kind of rank they'd have to get to in order to be able to make that happen, map that out. Now, if nobody's ever done it inside your company and they do have some outrageous number, then say, look, I'm not going to tell you you can't, even though nobody has in our company yet, but I'll show you what it would take to do it. If you got the chops, I'll show you how to do it. Now, if somebody's completely outrageous, they say, I want $10,000 working 1 hour a week and I'll give you 1 month. You got to say, listen, one of those numbers got to change. You know, I can't, it's not magic beans. You know, that's the point where you do push back. Say, I can't help you get there. At least I don't know that that's possible. I couldn't tell you with integrity that that's easy to do. Okay? But most of you, guess what you're going to get tons of? What do you need per month? 300, 500. I'd love to get out of student loan debt. I'd love to get out of my credit cards. I'd love to put my kids in a better school. I'd love to get rid of this junker car that I hate driving around and I feel bad about. I'd like to have a little fun. I'd like to save up for a little vacation. I mean, just, they're not looking for independent wealth because they don't believe it's real. But they'll take a little cash flow. So that's the best, that's the shortest course I got. I would normally do every single example of exactly and have you do it, but I would ask you that you go home and start practicing to become world class at this, okay? So who's ready to do that? Say aye. All right, fantastic. Let's go to the next skill, helping a person get started. I'm only going to cover 6 skills because tonight I'm going to cover how to promote events. And I'm going to just talk about getting new people started, and I'm going to go very quickly. I'll do this in the next 5 minutes, okay? So I just want you to get some notes, and we'll throw some things up on the screen so you can take some pictures of it. When a person joins, this is where duplication lives, is in the getting started process. This is really important to create duplication within your organization. So my strongest suggestion is to get together with a person who joined your business within 24 hours of them joining, and go through a very simple process. But the more you can systemize this process, the strongest organizations in the world are militant in their process for getting a person started. I mean, they are rigid. It's non-negotiable. This is how we do it inside our company. So step 1, part 1, validate their decision. Congratulations for joining this business. You made the best decision of your life, because they already have buyer's remorse. Make them feel good about joining your business. Part 2 is set expectations. Set proper expectations. Success or failure is up to you. I'm going to help, but you got to build your business. Our focus is helping you become independent as quickly as possible. That's our focus. Do you agree that that's a good focus? How long do you want to take for you to become independent of me? There's going to be ups and downs. It's not just an easy straight shot to the moon. Success takes time. Got to set proper expectations so they don't freak out when they're not a success in 90 days. They're working hard and they don't have a lot of cash flow. So that's part 2. Part 3 is whatever your company is, create a little getting started checklist. What's the appropriate products for a person to join your business? What's the appropriate tools? How do you get connected? What's the basic understanding of the compensation plan? What's the fundamental understandings of how to invite? What are the tools and events you're going to be inviting people to? Those types of things. Part 4 is to create a game plan. How can they get their first customer? How can they get their first distributor? Can you encourage them to attend their first company event? What steps can you take to help them earn their first commission check? And part 5 is assignments. Give them an assignment. Inside of network marketing, people crave assignments. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to do it. Tell me so I can take all this anxiety out of my brain, just go do what I'm told, because they've been doing what they're told their whole life. They just need somebody to tell them what to do. They need this to be specific. And if it is specific, they'll take the action. What this getting started process, you know what it does? Is it buys you about 90 days. It buys you 90 days. And in that 90 days, you have to get some semblance of progress. They got to build relationships. They got to get some product story. They've got to get a check. They got to get rank advancement. They got to have something moving forward, because in our business, unlike other traditional businesses, if people don't get some form of progress in their first 90 days, they go elsewhere. The reason why you're here in this room is all of you got some progress in your first 90 days, something to encourage you to buy another 90 days. You know what the key to our business is? To buy another 90 days. For every person in your business, you need to do everything possible to get them to commit for another 90 days from now to April 1st. And then once April 1st comes around, get them to commit for another 90 days and give them a reason why. And then get them to commit to your company convention. Get them to commit for the next promotion. Get them to commit 90 days at a time. What are we doing? We're using systems and skills to buy time for the penny to drop and a person to decide to become a leader. That's what we're doing. All of our business is buying time for people to finally get it. Buying time for people to finally make a decision. Okay? That's what we're trying to do. If there's a line on one side of the line, it's easy for a person to quit, and another side of the line, it's easy for a person to stay. Our job is to do everything we can to push them over the line where it's easier for them to stay in the business, and then keep them over the line until they can stay there on their own. 90 days at a time, one assignment at a time, one challenge at a time, one push at a time, one relationship at a time. That's our job. That's what we do in the development of people, okay? So look, tonight I'm going to talk to you about promoting events. And I'm world class at promoting events. I'm going to teach you specifically how you can get more people to attend events in your company, in your business, even coming back to GoPro. I'm going to teach you specifically how to do that. I'm going to give you kind of a master class on how to do that. Today, for the rest of the day, we've got 2 amazing speakers coming up. Then we've got some case studies after that. And after that, we've got Mr. Grant Cardone coming up. It's going to be great, about 1:30. Mr. Grant Cardone. And then we'll close first session at 3 o'clock. We don't do breaks on purpose because we want you to just kind of, if you need to go to the bathroom, go. If you need to get a cup of coffee, go. We want to give you as much value as we could possibly can in the hours that we have. And we know it's a lot sometimes, and you're sitting down a lot. So before we go to the next session, everybody stand up. And I want you to face to your right. Put your hands on the shoulders of the person next to you. Give them a little back rub.